Yo, what's up, people out there in YouTube land? When the Planet of the Apes remake first came out, I thought it was interesting, but I found that after each movie comes out, I have less interest in watching, and I remember less about what happened. I have a vague sense of the first one, the second one is less so, third even more less so. So when this one came out, it's like I'm not really that interested. So like I've been saying before, it's like I'm more interested in watching other people talk about it. It seems to be way more interesting. So the Critical Drinker dropped a new video about the Kingdom of the Planet of Apes. So I thought I'd check out his interpretation of it. So let's go. Here we go.
So, my relationship with the Planet of the Apes franchise could best be described as complicated. Like, I respect them as fresh and relatively intelligent new takes on very old source material that make good use of advances in film technology to deliver far more believable characters than we ever could have gotten from the Charlton Heston movies. All tied together by a protagonist who goes on a compelling and satisfying emotional journey with a poignant ending. The only problem is that, well, I've just never really cared that much about them. I never feel compelled to rewatch them. I never think back fondly about them, and I never connected with them on any kind of deeper level.
Yeah, me too. It's one of those things where the first one was very interesting. The second one was kind of like, yeah, that was interesting. The third one was like, okay, that was interesting. But the desire to continue to watch them, I think I have them on iTunes. Mm, it's like over the years, it just became more.
Oh, I mean, maybe that's a failing on my part. Maybe there's some vital spark that's not quite there. Or maybe it's because for all their technical prowess and strong performances, they're really just a competent retelling of a story that's already been done. I'm not really sure, to be honest, but one thing I do recognise is that the remake trilogy felt like a nice, complete story all by itself. It brought Caesar's arc to a satisfying conclusion, it wound up the conflict between the humans and the apes, and it neatly set up its fictional world to match the one we'd eventually find in the 1968 original.
God damn you all to hell! Oh my God!
So I've got to admit, I was a little confused about the need for a fourth movie in a story that felt like it had already ended.
Come on, honey.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like Joker 2. It's like, why do you need to make a Joker 2? Joker had a ending. So, but you make $1 billion, you get sequels.
Silly me. But okay, fine, just because it's trying to squeeze a bit more juice out of the Apes franchise doesn't mean it has to be bad. In fact, it could well turn out to be the gripping start of an epic new trilogy.
Nah.
So, is it? Well, sort of. It's more like a setup for something bigger and more interesting rather than a proper narrative all of its own. It's got some solid performances from a talented cast, decent action sequences and excellent visual effects, but at nearly 2.5 hours long, it feels bloated and self-indulgent. The narrative takes way too long to get going, and the central theme is one that's been tackled multiple times before. So I can't really say that it's a film that won me over to the Apes franchise, but neither did it turn me away, frustratingly putting me right back where I started. The movie picks up a few hundred years after the events of the last film. Apes are now firmly established as the dominant species of planet Earth, with the remnants of humanity reduced to the level of primitive savages by the simian flu. Because let's be honest, we need some kind of reason to explain why humans totally don't wipe the floor with them with superior technology and weaponry. I mean, have you ever seen a gorilla try to take on an F-22 Raptor? Neither have I, but it sounds fucking awesome. Anyway, whatever. As ape culture gets more sophisticated, they've gradually fragmented into different clans and groups, some of which are hostile to the others. This is where we meet our main, chimp, Noah, who's a member of a peaceful clan that uses eagles to hunt with. Him and his mates are out searching for eggs when they run into a human named May, who unlike the others, can still talk. How did she resist the simian flu and retain her intelligence? Don't know. Either way, they soon run into a hostile group of apes who attack Noah's village and burn it to the ground before enslaving the survivors and taking them away. Bad.
All right, my question is, how did the disease not burn itself out? It's like, is it? Because that's what I don't remember about the first three movies when it comes to the disease. It's like at some point when you start to develop an immunity to it, And then those people will have children, and then their children will be immune to the disease, so therefore they would maintain their intelligence. That's a problem when you do these post-apocalyptic stuff. It's like you have to think through all that stuff in terms of like the science and the biology of it, because it doesn't make sense after a while. It's like, I don't know. I wish maybe it explains this in the movie, but just off of the face value of it, it just doesn't really make any sense to me. Because that's basically how it should. I think it should work. I ain't a biologist, so if I'm wrong, please let me know.
Times indeed. So basically, Noah's objective now is to track the raiders back to their home camp, rescue the survivors, and get the fuck out of there. To do this, he enlists the help of May, who might just know a thing or two about what the raiders are trying to find, because she's trying to get to it herself. Along the way, they'll get into various scrapes and adventures, learn a bit more about each other, before the action culminates in a big battle for an underground bunker full of abandoned human technology. And of course, this being the start of a new franchise, the ending leaves the story wide open for a sequel. There's a decent amount of things to praise about Kingdom, so I might as well get it out of the way first. Visually, the film adheres to the same high standard as the other entries in the series. The motion capture and animation of the apes is superb, their faces are expressive and emotional while staying believable, and the world of Kingdom retains all the usual post-apocalyptic landmarks you'd expect. Crumbling skyscrapers being slowly reclaimed by jungle, the rusting hulks of ancient ships looming over beaches, the barely recognisable bulls of long-abandoned baseball fields, the decaying remains of a forgotten civilization. It's all present and correct, and it's impressively depicted with long, lingering tracking shots that really give you a sense of the scale of this world. The ape characters are well drawn and complex. Noah isn't quite as unique and tragic as Caesar was, but he's fine as a young and naive protagonist who has to grow up quickly in the course of the movie. Proximus Caesar is a much more complex and flamboyant kind of villain than someone like Koba, twisting and adapting the teachings of the original Caesar to suit his own needs, and the fact that apes now have spoken language means that he can deliver some great one-liners.
What a wonderful day!
The only problem is that he doesn't even show up until like halfway through the movie, which doesn't give us a whole lot of time to get to know him. Now, the obvious undertone here is that the more advanced ape culture becomes, the more it falls victim to the same divisions, rivalries, and conflicting ideologies of the human civilization that it replaced. Which is fine as a thematic idea, I guess. The problem is that it makes the apes less sympathetic once you realise that not only are they dumber than humans, but just as morally compromised. I was able to root for them in the past because they were victimized and exploited by the dominant humans, but now they're the dominant ones, and it turns out that they're no better than their former masters. At this point, I was practically rooting for the humans to take back control of the planet and wipe them all out. Yeah, fuck you, apes. This is our dojo. On the subject of the humans, Freya Allen heads up the Homo sapien contingent of the story, where it turns out there's more than one group of survivors out there, all looking for a way to establish contact with each other. Kinda makes you wonder what they've been doing for the past 300 years, or how any of their technology would still be functional after so long, but whatever. In terms of narrative and structure, the first hour is pretty slow going. The film takes its sweet time establishing our main characters and the world they live in, and things don't really get going until like 40 minutes in, so it's kind of a slow, cautious start for a movie like this. The big reveal about what the various factions are searching for wasn't exactly a mind-blowing revelation because let's face it, it was either going to be a weapon or a piece of advanced technology, and in the end, it turned out to be a bit of both. The ending hints at yet another war brewing, likely followed by the inevitable question, can apes and humans truly learn to coexist? No, they fucking can't. You've had 3 entire movies to answer this question, and the answer is the same every single time. I still don't understand why this is considered a thought-provoking concept. And I guess that was my big takeaway from Kingdom. It's really
Yeah, you can only have one dominant species. The other one, like, I think Cro-Magnon and Modern Human. It's like, you only get one big dog.
just more of the same, retreading the same narrative ground and exploring ideas that the series has already covered pretty comprehensively with the previous 3 movies. There's enough sparkle and spectacle to keep you amused, I guess, and if you're already a fan of this series that just has to know where it's going next, then it's probably enough to satisfy you. If not, then I doubt that Kingdom will change your minds. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. go away now.
Well, that's kind of in line of what I've heard. Yeah, that's the thing with these post-apocalyptic stuff. It's like your technology doesn't necessarily have to function because we've figured out how to make society work up until a certain point, and that will be in books. So basically, if you can find a library that has books in it that hasn't been too destroyed, you can figure out how to rebuild society from that. Depending on where you live at, you don't necessarily have to speak English, so they will have the same knowledge in every other part of the world. Again, you find a library or somebody's house who has encyclopedias or something like that. All that stuff will be in how to build walls, how to build this, how to build that. Because what they showed in the trailer, from what I saw, they're using like bows and arrows and stuff like that. It's like you can create things that are more sophisticated than that. So therefore, you can attack these monkeys. They're more physically stronger than humans, but we're smarter. So it's like this kind of stuff really doesn't make any sense if you really think about it. Part of the reason why I'm able to watch these kind of things is because I turn my head off, because if I think about it too much, then I'll see all the flaws in the story. But that's me. So if you like it, that's great. I'll put the link to this video in the description below. So please like, share, and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And I am out. Later.